What's going on, guys? It's me, Tim, back with another video about another 50mm focal length. One that I have actually picked up over the last 7 or 8 months that I've been shooting with exclusively over the last several months. It's like lived on my Leica M10 and my Konica Hexar. And that today, friends, is the Leica 50mm Summicron version 5 lens by Leica. Now, I've done a review on the Summicron version 3 that you may or may not have seen on my channel. I was not absolutely crazy about that lens for a variety of reasons, but because I'm obsessed with the 50mm focal length, I wanted to kind of give the version 5 version a formal review, a formal look over. I bought this with my own money. So it is not one of those things where someone has sent me a piece of gear and now I'm doing a review with it, or that I rented it or borrowed it from a friend just for YouTube content. I've actually been pretty absent from this channel for a hot minute because I've been coaching Little League Baseball. I'm a very firm believer that if you want to make a difference or make a name for yourself in your community, then you need to get involved into your community. So I've taken this camera with me. I have photographed my kids. I have photographed it at weddings. I have photographed it just about everything on the baseball field. I've used this lens to photograph just about anything and everything. So this is just kind of my first impressions kind of slash review on this lens. Like I said before, I'm obsessed with 50mm focal lengths, but let's go ahead and jump into this video. For some of you who may not know, my name's Tim Riddick. I am a wedding and portrait photographer based out of the Washington, D.C. area, but not for too much longer, but that's for a different video. But I bet you clicked on this article or this video because you wanted to know a little bit more about the Leica Summicron version 5 and if this should be your next lens for your Leica or your M mount camera. If you are comparing this lens to another lens that you're thinking about purchasing, you're probably wondering a little bit more about this. Well, I will give you the bottom line up front, or as I like to call it, the bluff. You should buy this lens if you can afford it. There are a lot of 50mm lens options out there for the M-mount Leica bodies, and I own and have reviewed quite a few in the past on my YouTube channel and on my website. I used to think that any lens would get the job done, and while I think you should buy what you can afford, but if you decide to buy this lens, you would be extremely happy with it. Now, the Leica Summicron version 5 is a versatile all-around lens that is considered by many to be a normal length prime lens with an f2 aperture. The Summicron M is an excellent choice for portrait photography, or pretty much any work, really. It offers good light transmission and has a large aperture. This lens is very versatile because it works in low light situations. However, there will be times where you wish you had that extra light gathering capabilities of a 1.4 lens. But for the most part, this lens is perfect for 95% of all photographing situations when it comes to light gathering. It also allows you to work close up without having to use a big zoom. And what makes this lens unique is its compactness and optical performance. The version 5 Summicron eliminates distortion while giving a clean look with bokeh that is not busy. Like most Leica lenses, the Summicron is handmade in small batches, and the version 5 has had the same formula since 1995. The Summicron has a max aperture of f2 and a minimum aperture of f16, which allows you to photograph in just about any situation. The Leica Summicron is handmade in Germany and, like I said before, is released in batches. The build quality of this lens is fantastic and has an all metal construction. I know my review of the Summicron version 3 was a mixed bag. I did not like the focus throw of the version 3 Summicron. I did not like the version 3 did not have a focus tab like the Summilux does, and so many other Leica lenses, but my version 5 fixed a lot of the issues that I had with the version 3. The focus throw on this is simply perfect. It's a right amount of focus throw from infinity to in focus. My copy of the version 5 Summicron still does not have a focus tab, but with a shorter throw of the barrel of the lens, it isn't as annoying for me as a version 3. The one big difference between the optical formula between the version 3 and version 5 is that the version 5 has an integrated lens hood, which is highly welcomed because it also just gets out of the way when you don't need it. I wish more companies would do something like what has been done with the Summicron when it comes to lens hoods. Why would someone do a review on a lens like the Summicron or any other things and then talk about other options of 50mm focal length? Well, because not every lens is for everyone and not everyone can afford every lens. I adore my version 5 Summicron. However, the price of $2,400 may be a bit of a turnoff for some. I've shot at least 9 different 50mm mount lenses on my Leicas, and I wanted to give you just a few thoughts on the lenses that are a little bit more affordable. The first one I want to talk about is the Zeiss Planar 50 f2. I like this lens. I did not love it, and while it may get the job done in a pinch, I've always felt that this lens was like the white bread of 50mm focal length. It's fine, it's good, but you'll find yourself selling it at some point to buy either a lens with a faster aperture or a lens that has a little bit more character. Now the Zeiss Sonar 50 1.5, this lens I would buy if I did not have an additional 1K to buy the Summicron. It's compact, it has a focus tab, and renders images unlike any other 50mm besides the Summilux that I also own. The TT Artisan 50mm 1.4, this lens is by far the biggest and the heaviest of the lot. However, it is also the cheapest at $399. It is a great starter lens for your first M-mount camera body, but all it will do is leave you thirsty for something else. However, it is a great lens for the price point, and I would highly recommend it because the image quality is good. And I will say, if you're shooting a film Leica or a film M-mount body, you will have to use the included focus sheet to get the focus perfect. Now, if you're shooting a digital Leica, you don't really have to worry about this. Now, the Summicron version 3, the main reason why I love this lens and why I've been shooting with this lens exclusively is for a variety of reasons. One, its compact size, its built-in lens hood, and the fact that the focus throw is so short and sweet, and is something that I just enjoy shooting. I think that this Summicron version 5 is by far a better version than the version 3 that I once owned. I actually sold the version 3 because I just did not like putting it on my camera. The version 3 was a little bit smaller, had a longer focus throw, and I just did not like the images that I got from it. I mean, it was okay. I'm sure some people love that lens. I just did not like it, and I felt like I needed to share with many that I did not like it when I did my review on the version 3 Summicron. It is probably going to be a great lens for some, but it just wasn't a great lens for me. The Summicron version 5 is just butter. I mean, if I could afford it, if you could afford it, I would run out and buy this lens. One, for starters, it's a Leica lens, so you know it's going to be quality. Two, you know that you're going to match up your Leica body with your Leica lens, and you're going to get a tool that were built for each other. And that's not saying any of the other lenses that I mentioned earlier aren't great lenses. They are all great lenses. but I always like to share this with every review or with everything that I do, with any sort of thoughts or ideas on any sort of camera review, is that the camera will not, or the lens or camera will not make you a better photographer. Actually going out and shooting with the camera, shooting with the lens will make you a better photographer. I am extremely adamant of craft over gear, which is ironic since I'm doing reviews on the gear that I own. But I always feel like if you want to know the ins and outs of a lens and what it's capable of, it's actually by putting it on your camera and going out and photographing with it. Working on your craft will always make you a better photographer. If you have this lens, this is the TT Artisan 50 1.4 lens, or if you had the Summicron lens, like I have on my Leica M10, you're never going to know what these lenses are capable of unless you actually go out, put them on your camera, and shoot with them, photograph with them. And that's the best way that you're going to find out what these lenses are capable of doing. These YouTube videos are great for a brief review, but they are not the end all be all. They're all just personal opinions. They are just my experiences with them, and my experiences are not always going to be what your experience may be. But if you're looking for a Leica 50mm focal length, I would probably, if it was me, I would probably get whatever lens you can afford and go out and shoot with that for at least 6 months to figure out if this lens or if that lens is going to be the lens for you. And if it's not, the great part about M-mount lenses is that they hold their value and you can always sell them down the road. But the best aspect of is any lens is finding out, picking it up, putting it on your camera, and finding out for yourself what these lenses and what these cameras are capable of doing. I love photography. I've shot these in a variety of different situations, but I think for the best experience, the best advice that I can give for you is to work in your craft versus working in your gear, and get what you can afford and shoot with that. And then when you can afford something else, pick up that, sell the other lens, and shoot with that, and get a better overall feeling of what you're doing while you're out experiencing life and photographing with it. That's really all I have for you guys today. I think you should buy the Summicron if you can afford it, but you know what? The TT Artisan lens is a great lens as well, so buy that if that's what you can afford. Don't get so wrapped up into the gear of things and get wrapped up into creating. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. I appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Peace.